I just shut down.
Checking out.
Yeah. No, that's all I just spoke briefly with Tony about it as well. Negligent ownership is kind of going to be in a bit of a shit show position. So what I prefer to see is like a central database that when we got a firearm, we can just like, hey, when was this purchased? And Ammunition provides that information. That would have helped spread out a hell of a lot. Because if it was purchased way before his current firearm license and after his expungement, then it would have shown where we shouldn't really be putting.
What happened right as Maxwell was walking in? Wait, actually,
because the only other way would be making it a requirement on the purchaser to log the serial, make it a legal requirement, serial, date, and then of course that's putting more burden on them than really is necessary.
Yeah.
I would say with the Pred case, the one thing I argue is the fact that they didn't show anything for it all. I think the database idea would sound nice, but I think it's overbearing. I think it's the minimal effort to just even look at the bank records before the search warrant was even written up and sort of like use as an investigative tool to build into the probable cause. Because I've seen where like examples of where I think a Marshall like Barrett has done that before against Hydra, and he had that stuff before executing search warrant, and it's sort of like once he identified specific purchases that are more than likely purchased from a store like Ammunition, it's really hard to argue against that. Whereas in the Pred case, they didn't even go through the avenue, so we can't even like confirm or deny anything at all. It was left as speculation.
Oh yeah,
did purchase any weapons.
ExpressVPN chat. Couple days remaining.
Well, they did. It just showed that.
That's the thing. Sign-ups.
Had records for his second weapons license.
4 months for free. Link in chat. We need 6 more sign-ups, ladies and gentlemen. Try it out.
They didn't even attempt
up to 30 days.
His first
if you're not satisfied, get your money back. Protect your internet. Boost your connectivity. Prevent ISP throttling. Obviously, if your entire internet goes out, it doesn't help. But if you were hit by a DDoS attack, you are Gucci gang.
With the justice side. I want to make something more around the way they put themselves in positions where they've been put under undue pressure as well. Because it seems in this Pred case and possibly even in the Hydra case, they were surrounded by PD ready to raid. So they may have felt the pressure to sign it then in there. They need to stop putting themselves.
Oh my God! When is that civil case happening?
Who the hell knows?
Oh, with the Pred one?
Yeah.
Well, it's in a. I hate to say it, but it's in a Pred lock. The entirety of the DOJ's conflicted from.
I don't. Yeah, but why did I mean, that was overcooked. I think going after the entire DOJ, you should have named the ones involved.
Yeah, but I think the civil case was for when they removed him as a mayor. That's the one that.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you're trying to do something that is so unlikely to happen, right? If instead you target those that were in power at the time, then you could actually have a court case. You know what I mean?
Target the justices that would have had to be the ones make the decision and force the judges to rule on it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I didn't exactly put the document together, but I think the idea of it, though, which I kind of agree with, is the fact that it seemed like everybody.
Yeah, that was a really bad idea.
On the judge's side, agreed together, right? Because it was either they dumped off onto one justice or all the judges in a collective agreed together.
Well, I guess what I'm pointing at is more like there's new judges and justices now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Weiss had nothing to do with it. He could have overseen it. I mean, maybe it'll cause the governor to oversee it, maybe, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they'll bring in Bailey. I don't know.
Fly in someone to do the case.
Yeah, and I do believe things are set up for that.
So that's what I'm wondering as well. I'll be questioning is me and Maxwell are debating appealing the Hydra raid because of the whole this is a precedent thing. And we're like, well, who would actually oversee it when it was a justice that made the
I
decision?
don't know if you can appeal it. I mean, unless
She
I'm
didn't tell us
tripping.
we couldn't.
Yeah, but I mean, normally an appeal is, how do I put this? Appeal is more of a thing that the defense can do. Prosecution appealing infers you have new evidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I want to discuss it with
Yo,
them, because
Sufi,
it's like
thank you
one
for
of
the 4
these things that's
months.
never really been done. I know there's been an appeal done on a docket about a decision to throw a case out.
Yeah.
Trying to think which one it was. I believe it was a big warehouse raid on.
Yeah, they can, but they need it. You can't just
Cyprus.
can't just
where
like
a
appeal
couple
it.
of them were then thrown out, saying it was double jeopardy, and then that decision was appealed and overturned.
Oh, Barrett didn't Marshall Barrett appeal a decision from a judge?
Yeah,
He did.
I'm
He
pretty
did do
sure
an
it was
appeal.
Barrett.
Yep.
Oh, the
On
raid on
the Cyprus
Interesting.
shit. He sure did. Yeah, I remember
So,
that because that had to do with raiding a property and charging everybody that was defending the property.
yeah.
That was the one where Weiss presided, was saying that they were all part of the
Hello,
same
thank you
sequence
for
of
the 8
events,
months.
Yep.
correct? Seems
Yeah.
foggy, but I
Right.
did have a gut feeling that, I mean, we were on the other side, the defense side, but even I had a gut feeling where I was like, I don't exactly think those are part of the same sequence, but what do I know?
I'm confused though. Like, how did Barrett's case go? Because normally, if someone
He
gets
won.
ruled, what? Yeah, but was there a not guilty?
So it was. I
It's like,
believe it was.
how is that
dismissed
not
with
double jeopardy?
Yeah. So how it stemmed, I believe, was there was a raid on the warehouse. The raid was attacked. So the people
I'm so
that attacked it were
confused.
given all the charges
same
for what
charges.
happened during that attack.
Which is what
And
we could have
then-
done with people with Hydra, and we chose not to. But
Yeah. And then they wanted to push the charges for everything found on the raid, accomplice
Mhm.
charges, against those that were caught attacking the raid. It was thrown out for double jeopardy, saying you shouldn't have charged them with the attack if you wanted to charge them with the belongings inside. That decision, it was, I believe, dismissed with prejudice, double jeopardy being stated, and then it was appealed, and the dismissal was overturned, and it ended up in court, and I believe he may have actually ended up getting plea deals off them for it.
Huh. That's very interesting. Oh shit.
Because I remember keeping an eye on that, because we were debating for quite a while, should we charge the Hydra members that attacked the raid with anything or just leave it be? And it was a big back and forth, and then we decided it wasn't worth it given all the problems we had as well.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. Well, shit. Well, yeah, there's a lot of Maxwell, before you arrived, we were talking about like warrants and all that kind of stuff, and you know, I was explaining my position. Like, I'm not a big fan of warrants being warrants, in my opinion, should be, I personally would rather see a world in which prosecution has 3 days of discovery time followed by 5 days of discovery for defense, with the ability for either side to motion to add additional documentation up to before 48 hours before the case. But it needs like a high level of scrutiny. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just like hide something from either side until the last second. But after that discovery period of 8 days, there's an opportunity to challenge the warrant, but it's during that, like, a small window, so that you don't have officers spend hundreds of hours when only to have the warrant thrown out. because then it's kind of like,
it's embarrassing for the DOJ, in my opinion, that being thrown out.
yeah, it's as I kind of like, and I'm being very careful with this, is the DOJ is not even a proper institute right now, right? And this is not a blemish on the individuals that make it up, but it's more the history of it, right? And where it is at present. And I drew an example, right? With, I think both you and Doc are fantastic officers. I think Daisy's a great chief. I think there's a lot of great people within LSPD. But I hold the position that law enforcement is in the worst state I think I have ever experienced, ever. Now, that doesn't mean fuck everyone that's a part of it. I think it's just the system has failed you. You know what I mean? It's like you're working with straws and sticks, and I think that's the same problem that the DOJ is facing. It's the same thing that my office faces, right? Like I think to a lot of people, we're probably pretty dog shit too, but we're also working with sticks and straw. You know what I mean? And
one way I see the DOJ at the moment is they're trying to walk before they've learned to crawl because of all the changes they've been through. So they haven't got the basics down at the moment, and they're trying to just push on.
yeah, there's no like a warrant. Let's think about that for a second, right? A justice has signed that there's probable cause. That means if another person at the same level is able to judge the probable cause, that goes against every, I don't know, in my opinion, it really goes against the philosophy of jurisprudence to begin with. I would even go as far as saying that a warrant, in order to be disputed, either requires new evidence that counters it, or is disputed because of some like legislative reason that wasn't used in consideration, right? Like, let's say, like, and it should be that a lower circuit court, like, let's say a judge signs a warrant, and then the justice can appeal it given that new evidence. But without like a system like that actually documented and it being done more on a whim, it's more destructive than it is good. Like,
it is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know anybody that wants to write a fucking search warrant to do anything that has to do with anything now, like going forward.
yeah.
For what? All the work for what? For one justice to turn over another justice decision?
Yeah, basically what that decision she made in court says is that there's someone at the
I'm being
highest tier of
careful
court
not
that
to
doesn't know what they're
point
doing.
at the judges or justices, because I don't think it's really
They say
their
it's
fault.
like, Hallow
They
shouldn't be
don't
there if
have,
he can't
nothing is
sign a
documented,
warrant that's
and
legal.
therefore things have changed, but that is a consequence of them making their best effort, not
and about
knowing
discovery periods, that's
how
something that I planned on talking
historically
about as
things may have
well,
had to work, because
where one of the things I said
you know what I
is
mean.
the longer a case has been sitting,
But then again,
on
maybe that's how things are
docket,
going to work now, which also means that
then
people
it
have to
should
get
be
used to
the
it.
longer time you have after closing discovery. So, say you want to keep the 48 hours, fine, that's great if a case is seen in a week or two. But
Yeah,
when you're
but
getting to 2 months,
Everyone's so new, man.
time
Like,
should be added to that to make it say at least a week.
yeah, you can't.
Because I felt really bad. Even though I knew Robin knew everything I was going to add because he already had it, I felt really bad 72 hours out going, hey, here's a bunch more evidence I got to add we forgot.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you had a legitimate reason to do it.
Motherfucking, yo, Tony over here with a double fisted,
But you still feel shitty.
fucking
and it being out there for
cigarettes.
2 months.
Well, for what's worth, if you feel shitty about it, it means you didn't do it with bad intention, at least.
And now we got the Cornwood case to figure out what to do with after they threw that one out.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah. I think right now a lot of our systems just need, honestly, I think a lot of conversation around them. And with it being winter time and a new slew of heads, it's gonna take some time. I think for the sake of the future, I think a lot of these core things should at least be discussed, right? I'll give you an example, right? Like cocaine became illegal today, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I heard that announcement, I'm like, what the fuck? So I open up the drug thing, and it's been, from my perception, shadow edited, right? Like, where the fuck did this document change? It didn't go through the process that we just agreed on and signed into legislation 2 days ago.
Oh my
I'm like, just come on, like, what the fuck? So I immediately asked, right? Which, by the way, I could never do before. If I asked this question of the previous regime, I'd hear like, Nino this, Nino that, like, it's just fucking bullshit. It turned into a fight right away. But instead, I got a fucking adult response from Arcadia, and she's like, well, this is written here in the thing, and what it says is the medical authority can schedule something based on testing, and then it goes to the DOJ and they enter it in. Now, I am going to perceive this like, even though the legislation has changed, that table that you see in there is not a part of the legislation, but is kind of a separate document that just happens to be in there. Does that kind of make sense? Now,
yeah,
I'm
so
still not entirely enthused with it because it adds like a layer of confusion, right?
so the table is basically being pointed to by the legislation as opposed to being
Yeah, it's in the legislation, but it's like an appendix in a way, right? And so that's how I'm going to make sense of it, right? Like, it's a reasonable explanation. But the reason I point that as and I'm satisfied with that, like, that kind of makes sense, right? Because what is the alternative? What, you point to a Google Doc that can be updated all the time, right? And that's got the scheduling shit, right? Now, you could still make the argument that, like, like, every new drug that gets illegalized still should go through, City Hall anyways, because that's the point of democracy and shit, right? But I don't know. My point in all this is that we have partners in every legislative branch that are open for discussing things. And while we may have these stances, I think it's important that we see and discuss these things and like what the pain points are and find a solution that mostly works for everybody, right? Whether it's the warrant thing, whether it's, discoverability issues that like Tony and I have seen for like the past 3 months, for the betterment of everybody.
Yeah, so in your example there, it's basically a case difference of going, okay, this is why we done it, and you being able to go, okay, I see why, I can understand it, I may not fully agree, to being told, we can do it, tough shit.
Precisely. You actually hit the nail on the head, because that's normally what we were told. I'm like, okay, cool. So because then it leaves me in with no option, right? Because I'm the mayor. People come to me and they're like, what the fuck is this? I can't explain it. I just have to say DOJ is doing dumb shit. But with the new regime, I can be like, okay, well, no, they're actually doing it because of X, Y, and Z, and I'm in support of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad that line of communication is open now.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah. So, yeah, it's let me ask you guys a question, because I have been trying to tackle a issue in the back of my mind, and once again, I ask you not to take offense to what I'm about to say. It's not about anyone in particular, right? I feel like, okay, I was approached earlier today about my thoughts on pharmaceutical companies and their existence. In order to fulfill, medically cleared painkillers, etc. And I think we all know what that means, right? Limited amount of oxy on the streets. my immediate
Yeah.
reaction to it was like, we're not doing that. Now, the reason I said it is because we are already having demonstratable issues with law enforcement understanding how to handle the marijuana changes, which in my opinion are not very complicated. But we are also now, as soon as Pred's legislation was passed with like moonshine being brewed up north, came into play, I've heard a lot of just frankly dumb shit, right? Like 2 IQ shit from officers and deputies. I shouldn't just say officers, just law enforcement. Saying, oh my God, or even the sanctioned street racing. Like, and I want to tell you, like,
Oh,
like
God,
this
don't
shit is
start me
not
there.
like, it makes me wonder. I don't know, man. It makes me really wonder, like, were they raised in like in a fucking trailer in Blaine County where like race cars didn't exist and like, you know,
You'll
like
like this
the
one then
devil's
about the
lettuce and
racing.
shit? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's confusing to me, right? Because it's just, you paint like an outside observer perspective, right? It's like moonshine you can buy in Boston as long as it's authorized. You can buy marijuana at a fucking medical center. You can get involved in a sanctioned race, right?
Oh,
So
don't
these,
worry on the
it's just,
sanctioned race stuff.
it's
On
still, those things are
Sunday-
still illegal if you do it outside of what's, right?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And so where
yeah,
I'm
what
going with
day
this,
was it? What day was
Yeah.
Sunday? So Friday, I think it
Yeah.
was. Someone was talking about them, and they were like, "Can we push conspiracy for racing on people?" And it's like, no, they're legal races. There's fucking legislation in place legalizing them. It's
Yeah.
like, but racing is inherently illegal. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter.
so, and I agreed. And so where I was thinking about this because keep in mind, while it can seem at times I'm against you guys, right? And I think you guys know me a little bit better than some of the other officers. Like, I get it, right? Nino's out here legalizing this and fucking doing all. I do have you guys in the back of my mind, and this is, and while I may have stopped those things, I have to ask myself the question: how do we get to a point where you could see, like, prescription oxy, or you could see, like, a place selling limited quantities of medical equipment, right, to make things a little bit more vibrant in the city, right? That first means that we need to do what we've done so far well, right? And that includes the enforcement of it. My concern and what I ultimately landed on is when we make these legislative changes, should they not then result in SOP changes and limited training on how do you handle it? And to give you an example, if races are sanctioned, then illegal races should be more punished. If moonshine is illegal in Blaine County, it is literally trafficking at that point, crossing into the city where it is illegal. If there is, in the same case of marijuana, when you got legal quantities here and there, that makes it that much worse if someone is transferring that shit illegally. You get where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And so how do we close that gap? And is there even interest in the police department?
I'll be frank, anything that takes any semblance of thought and isn't chasing something for immediate gain is going to be hard to be pressed with a lot of officers. And that's the unfortunate situation we're in nowadays.
But, well, so let me ask this question. Who in the PD can help ensure that SOPs around these things are written? Because I understand that's how you guys operate, right?
Yeah, so SOPs all have to be signed off by High Command. And unless they've changed and are willing to work on different SOPs, it means both sets high command got to agree on it. Technically, I think any officer can write up SOPs for anything and pass it on. It's
Okay.
like these tiny units that people set up. They even get asked to write an SOP up for it to get agreed to. So any officer, if they've got reason to write SOPs, can do, is the way it feels like it works. But end of the day, it's up to high command to agree to it, and then it's a matter of them actually putting it in place.
Yeah.
I think it was like 2 months it took for any edits to be made to the SOPs.
But we need to,
last time.
but that's the gap that we need to close, right? Because, these things should not be, in my eyes, as far as I'm concerned, I am sad that these changes are not being taken by law enforcement. There's a lot of things we put in into our legislation that actually enables you guys to do more interesting things, right? And I do mean that. What do you call it? And like I envision, like, you know, you can do fucking massive fucking trafficking busts, right? You know,
Yeah,
you
it's
see
like
someone
you're saying
cooking
with
up north,
the-
you let them fucking
Yeah.
cross over. You could you imagine the shit you can do? You know what I mean?
Just like, okay, we've located these still locations.
Yeah.
But do they have to report where they're brewing up north, or can they just do it anyway?
I'm not a big fan of how it was written up north, and we're in the midst of, we're supposed to both pass it at the same time. I woke up and there was fucking new legislation on moonshine, which, mind you, didn't even pass the 3-day contest period. I don't know what the fuck, but
Who the hell knows?
we are, what's coming is we are gonna have like liquor licenses, and so people are gonna be able to have like limited amounts of liquor. But that also means that like you could shut down a place that's like overselling liquor, right? So there's opportunities there, but I think where I'm kind of getting at is like there's kind of a disconnect between the legislative writing and it being translated into SOPs and law enforcement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
that makes sense.
I think when we originally did some of these things, we kind of presumed that someone would read them, take them in, and say, okay, how does this work? Let me call the mayor, whatever. All right, what is this meant to say? Okay, this is what it is. And then let's like draw up how we're going to enforce around it, right? But
actually, marijuana legislation, the
Yeah.
selling of it, the legalized selling.
Mhm.
So it's per transaction. So here's my question. Where would the liability fall if an individual purchases the maximum amount per transaction and then instantly does the same again? So they're technically carrying above what they legally are allowed. The shop would have knowingly done so because it's one transaction directly after the other. But
Okay.
technically, they've not broken the legislation because it's split up into 2 transactions.
I think what should be happening is, and this is kind of what's been missing. It's been a little difficult with Peter's not being around and not seeing Daisy as much. I'm gonna keep it a buck. But there should be an ongoing conversation with our office and LSPD. So we should, while we are writing legislation, if you find issues with it that makes enforcement difficult or things that we didn't think of, because we're not magicians, you know what I mean? We already spent a shitload of time in it. There are things that we are unaware of, things that we don't consider, whatever. Is that you say, well, okay, we understand the spirit of what you're doing here, but this is a little fucked because of X, Y, and Z. This should be altered. Here's what we're recommending. And then we'll literally alter it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it should be more like a living document. But
maybe can try set up some sort of liaison or a team of people within the PD that will overlook stuff for you as well.
I am dying for somebody that can work with us to get SOPs in place, because I swear to God, if I see another deputy cry about moonshine, I'm gonna fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, because it's just like fucking, I was so fucking pissed that racing day. I swear to fucking God, like that many fucking happy people and someone wants to fucking shit on it. Go back to your fucking trailer, you know what I'm saying? But I don't want you guys getting fucked over it. You know, I don't want that dooming to influence you guys. Rather, I want when these things change, it's exciting for you as well. You know what I mean? And maybe I want to help you guys even, like, I'm going to throw you an idea. LSPD having an ATF unit. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Something that would make sense.
Yeah, why not? You know what I'm saying?
Like,
we legalize a couple things, but as ATF, you guys are fucking empowered to do, like, fucking kick in doors for guns, drugs, and moonshine, right? Like, imagine someone crosses the border, fucking LSPD, ATF fucking rolls over. Like, you know you're fucked at that point.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking with this moonshine stuff. If we locate who's producing where, then we can just check out where their properties are, because in all likelihood they're storing it in one of their properties.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're producing it up there, but they only own property down in the city. Okay, let's just keep an eye on it. Let's see if they go directly from their steals and cross over the border.
You might pull them over, be like, what's in the fucking trunk? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of where we're, like, I want to start to kind of close that gap. Where I'm going with this is I need help to identify who's interested in the PD. Because I don't want to, you know, I want these changes to be valuable to y'all as well. And if, you know what I mean?
So I've already opened up talks with Haley here about next year getting some people together who are more interested in, like, yeah, you like investigations and things, but you don't want to just do paperwork investigations. You want to be out there on the street. So you would do more surveillance. So it would be like what you're talking about. You would go, okay, moonshine stuff here, and then they cross the border with it. Okay, how often do they do this? When are they doing it? How much are they transporting? When's the best time to hit them? So you're actually out there interacting with the city rather than sitting in a room alone.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that would be fucking sick. I mean, TRT could always be like, you know, I don't even know if that thing I mean, if that's operated, I mean, maybe this is a good replacement. You have much juicier targets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
bigger busts.
Yeah, sometimes.
Imagine ATF has to check the cultivation places every so often.
Yep. I'm sure they're only meant to be growing a certain amount at a time. Only have so much stored. Transporting only a certain amount. Just now and again pulling up and checking in. Oh, what's this you're delivering to your store? Okay, before you take it in, let's see what you got there.
What do you think of all this, Haley?
Yeah, I just cut out the last part of it. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm saying, like, what do you? We're talking about, like, we want some of these changes that have been happening, whether it's like moonshine or whether it's whatever, like.
Well, I think it would
empower
benefit
you guys.
everybody. Yeah. To not just that, but to have more things, you know, because it's kind of like the same thing every day. You know, you come to work. We don't do anything with this. We don't do anything with that. We don't know what to do with this. We don't know what to do with that. I think it would be a good thing, especially with the moonshine. We have a lot of people that love dealing with stuff like that.
Yeah, I think where our challenge is, we need somebody that's, like, actually interested in being an interface with us, right? So we can find out what these pain points are, because we shouldn't be just, like, writing legislation and not getting law enforcement feedback. And we don't want the voices of, oh my God, everything illegal is becoming legal now, like, for, like, fucking two-head shit. Because, quite frankly, it's I don't know, it's embarrassing in its own way. But is that, can you help us find somebody
to help with writing it?
Well, not just writing it, but kind of being that interface of like, they're going to write the SOPs. They're going to show people how to do it right. And hell, even, like, let's start a fucking ATF unit in LSPD. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna be honest. Stevie just got promoted to sergeant, and she's already been talking about doing stuff with the prison, putting in SOPs and stuff. So I really think that's something she could do well with as well. A few of us could probably help with it, of course, but she's definitely already shown interest in adding things to SOPs for more guidelines, even for the prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'd probably be best if it is a member of command.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
You don't want someone who forgets what exigence is,
in a 40-minute time span.
Fucking crazy. Anyways.
Yeah, you like how Doc asked the questions this time in the trial, at least? He's like, do you know what this means? So that the defense didn't even get to ask.
Yeah, no, honestly, y'all did really good. I mean, you were dealing with some bullshit, so, what are you going to do about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, like, that's what we wanted, right? Not just to throw it out like, oh, we suck and we can't see this through. We absolutely could. I mean, my thing is, if the warrant wasn't thrown out, you can't tell me those charges wouldn't have was stuck.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, to be honest. I'll try bringing it up.
She had nothing else to say. Like, why focus on the warrant being thrown out? You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest with you, Nino. I thought of all the things of why he wouldn't be found guilty, it was not gonna be because of the warrant.
I love the fact that I thought of all the things, and I went straight to the warrant and went, "Hello's fucked us."
Yeah.
I don't think
there's gonna be some other shit happening. Pull out of the hat.
I give Hollow a lot of shit. I don't think it's them. I'm telling you, I don't expect you guys to buy into it, but the DOJ is undocumented right now, and until they're not fucking up individually. They're left with no guidance, and so they're making up their own shit, right? Because they have to, right? What else are they going to do? They don't, if it's not documented. And for the outside world, it's like, why is it different all of a sudden, right?
The reason I say hello fucked us is we were stuck in a position of...
In what world is Nino now defending the DOJ?
We don't. He signed our warrant.
I'm trying to be reasonable.
That's where arguments were going to be based around. And then it was him that also was the person that threw out a warrant. And I had a feeling that it'd be used to set a precedent. Even though I disagree with them doing it in that manner without the case law. But I knew that's what they would do. So I was like, right, so do we go and attack Hallow before the case? So we get any precedent he's set thrown out?
Yeah.
Or do we leave it, because if we go after him, then that will directly influence the fact he signed our warrant anyway.
Yeah.
If it was any other justice that had thrown out a case, a warrant, I would have instantly went after them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see where things go, to be honest. All right. Well, I got to talk to Tony and whatnot. It's been a fucking busy day for us last 2 days, but it was a good chat, Doc. I appreciate it. I think we covered a lot of things.
I appreciate your time, myself.
Yeah, anytime. All right. I'm gonna need you guys' help. I ain't got no keys right now.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I stole them when he fell asleep here.
Oh my God! I thought I was gonna be gone for God knows how long. All right. All right. Y'all take care. Yeah.
All right,
yep. You too, Nino. Thanks for the chat.